When Hezekiah began to reign in Judah, we read in 2 Kings chapter 18 verse 6, he held fast to the Lord. He did not depart from following him, but kept the commandments that the Lord commanded Moses. Amazing, right? He held fast to the Lord and he did not depart from following him. Held on to God and did not depart from following him. Amazing. Then he says in verse 7, the Lord was with him wherever he went out. He prospered. Holding on to the Lord, not departing from his ways, what follows is that God will be with you and God will prosper you. In fact, when we read in verse 3, it says that he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, not in the eyes of man. He did not seek to please people around him. He chose to please God. Then it says, according to all that David, his father, had done. We know, right? David was a God pleaser. God was pleased with David. It goes further and it says, he removed the high places and broke the pillars and cut down the Asherahs. That means he did not compromise. He did not do anything that God would dislike. He did not compromise. The kings before him had compromised and done things that were contrary to God, and their lives were moved in confusion. The same will happen with us if we begin to live a life contrary to God, displeasing God. Confusion and chaos will rule and reign. Hezekiah, he chose to do what was right in the eyes of God and chose not to compromise. In fact, when we read further, it says, and he broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made. Now remember, the bronze serpent was made by Moses because God had told Moses to do it, so that all who were bitten by that serpent, by those snakes, would be healed when they would look to it. But what followed was they began to worship that brazen serpent. They began to give offerings to it. God had not told to do that. And they began to do it. And here Hezekiah breaks it in pieces. That means he chose to live a life that God would want him to live. He chose not to please people. He chose that he would follow the ways of God, the commandments of God, uncompromising. And we see what follows next is God blesses him. And it says wherever he went, God prospers him. We see the next chapter, we will read that Sennacherib came against Hezekiah. Hezekiah turned to God and God gives him victory. And the next chapter of that, we see Hezekiah falls sick. Hezekiah turns to God and God heals him. So we see that wherever or whatever Hezekiah went through, God was with him. And Hezekiah, when he called upon the Lord, began to see God bless him, prosper him, restore him. And the same will happen to you. I want to encourage you. Don't compromise. Don't look to the left or to the right. Keep walking according to the ways of the Lord. Don't seek to please man. Please God. And God will be with you and he will prosper you. God bless you.